Hello everyone. In this video of JavaScript documentation, we're gonna see about JavaScript loops. So in JavaScript we have different types of loops. So we have these for loops, we have while loops, and we have another flavor of while which is called do while. So we can iterate over a array using a loop, but there is a different mechanism also to iterate over it. Like we can use for each, which we have seen in the iteration method, which was shown in the here array iteration, which we notice that we can use for each on a loop and which accept a function. But this will be like plain loop which you're gonna see. So when to use loops, like let's say we have 10 elements of an array and we want to visit each of the element in the array. So what we can use is like we can use this loop in JavaScript. So the syntax is similar to this. So we have this syntax for, and there is a open bracket, and then we can set the let I equal to 0, which is the initiation, and this is the comparison where we set the value when to exit the loop and how to increment, and then we do all the operation here. So in the manual way, what we can do is like let's say we want to add a total 6 line break. What we can do is like in the text, we line break with the car number. Let's say we have this car of 10. So example, if this, so we have this 10 car or some number of car, right? And what we could do is like we could write this operation instead of this. We could write this thing 10 times, right? So instead of I, we write a 0 here, then we could write 1 here, that would also work. But since we have this loop, what we could do is like we can write say start with 0, end with less than the number. Since array always start with 0 index, so this will be 0 1 2 3 4 5, and if we call the array size, it will be 5. So we always want the less than 5. So during the 5 itself, it will gonna exit the loop, and every time it increment by 1. So if we display all the element because we are appending with this text element here. If we say I equal to I plus 2, I equal to I plus 2, then we will see that it will gonna only show the always increment by 2 number. So this will also work. But we say 1, that means it will increment 1 by 1, so this will also work. So this is a shorthand writing for plus plus. So this is, we can do reverse way also. So we can set the I equal to cars dot length, and we said that car is equal to or less than 0, equal 0, or I is greater than 0, greater than equal to 0, and I minus minus. So this will also work, and this will return from odd flat, like reverse way. So yeah, so since length always give the plus index, so we have to say minus 1 here. That's why this is undefined, because first value is not available. So this will also work in a reverse way. So this is for loops, and there is a for in, for off, and while and do while, right? So we have seen like for loop here, which is this, and then other type of for loop in. Okay, so for loop in is like we have an array of object and we can say in, so this will also work. So for example, this name, last name, everything, and if you say that x in person, then it will return the each of the key value. So this is one of example, right? So f name, last name, blah blah blah, and if we reorder everything, what we're gonna get is like we're gonna get each of the key. And here we notice that x is person x will be the key, and then if you say like person f name will be John, second time it will come last name L name will be Doe, and age 25. So in also works. So this is similar, but this is one place. So difference between last time we have seen, for we have declaration, condition, and increment. This doesn't have all these things. It just let x in person. So that will work. And if you say number, then we set that number, so it will always return the index of it by default. So off is another type. So when we say off, we have this direct values itself, but if we have an object, it doesn't work for object. Just make sure that it is not used for object itself. Now while and do while. So while and do while is really useful sometimes when you want to iterate about the array and you need to break on a certain place. So similar to that, in while loop, what we do is like we declare the initiation beforehand. So here is the example, right? So what we said, that initial value is 0, which we declare before we go to the loop itself, and then whenever we come to this array, we increment every time as 1, and then we set the value and increment. So whenever it exit this point, it will gonna exit the loop. So if let's say you don't have this increment, okay, and this what will do is like it will loop over unlimited time. If you see that, if we run this, it will loop infinity time, but it's not allowing me to print. I think my browser already hang. So yeah, so always make sure that when you write something, you increment the array, okay. So this is another flavor when we have do while. So do while is useful that when we want to exit the condition before we before the condition. So difference is here, it check the condition first and then do the calculation, but here what it does is it check the condition before, sorry, after the process everything is done. So this is very important to know the difference. So let's see an example, okay. So so we'll see example for each of this thing. So first thing is like we have this for loop, like, so we can define an array. So let's say 1 2 3 1 2 3 4 5, okay. So now we see the for loop first. For, so we have this initiation, so I equal to, we can say let I equal to 0, I is less than length I plus plus. So notice that here we use the semicolon every time we write different statement. So this is important, and we can say we can loop over here, right, and we can print the value I. So if you notice that it will always print the I index. Now how to access this value? We can say that here we can say array of I. So from the array we can get by the index. Now we say the 1 2 3 4 5. Next is for of, right? We notice that for in, so we can say for x in array, we can say we notice that we have all the value here, and we can access the index also, and similar to in we can say off as well. So that way also it works. And now next look at the while and do while check. So when we say that so we say that I equal to 0, okay. So we said that while I is less than array dot length, we will gonna loop here, right? We will loop the I here, and we're gonna increment every time I equal to I plus 1. This will also work, or we can write here I plus plus, which will also work. Sorry, did I do anything wrong? Okay, so this, oh, okay, so our value, when we did I value already set to 0, and every time we return, if we print the value for I is already 5, so we need to reset this value to 0, then we can run this again, so it will return. Okay, so now the question is, what is the difference of while and do while? So let's run the same thing for do while again. Okay, so instead of this, what we gonna do is, like, we can write this do while. Do, we can say all the console log and I plus 1, while I is less than length. Okay, so notice that here what it did is, like, when we printed I equal to 0, it printed with 0 1 2 3 4, right? This is because of the return statement, so it printed 0 1 2 3 4. But here what you notice is, it print with 1 2 3 4. It didn't print with this 0, because first time when it is, like, say, run through, if we run through the code, first time we said this 0, so if 0 is less than, yes, true, then it print the value. But here what happened is, it tried to print the value while I is less than the length. That's why it happened. So I hope this when it is 0, if you remember, when we set this value equal to 0, it will always return this 5 here, remember. But if we now, because the value is 5, now let's say if we print the same thing when it is 5, you notice that there is no printing value when you're using while, because when we check for I, when we set the I equal to 0, and then we print the while loop here, you notice that every time you print something, it will just print everything. But similar to that, when we set I equal to 0, and we do the do while, you will notice that it will exit on this loop itself. So, and next time we print, we have this 5 again, so it will always, even though the value is 5, still it's printing the value. Okay, whereby when we already exit the value, it didn't print the value. So that's the main difference. This 5 here, if you notice here, if we run again this for the while loop, it didn't print anything here. So hope this is useful. And we have another syntax called break. This is not that difficult. So when we want to break a loop, right, so let's say whenever we found a value, we want to break, what it will gonna do, whenever we found the break statement, it will skip after it, so it will not exit anything, it will just break the loop itself. So, though it's supposed to run until 9, but whenever it found 3, it break the loop. So that's the break statement. Hope this is useful. See you on the next video.